What if you could understand what people are really thinking just by looking at them? Well, it's not magic, it's a science. And in this explainer, we're going to decode the hidden language of the face, turning this complex behavioral analysis into a practical toolkit you can start using, well, today. 70%. Think about that. When you're listening to someone, you spend about 70% of that time making eye contact. That is a massive pipeline of data flowing straight to you. So the real question is, are you just looking, or are you actually seeing what's going on?
You see, most of our communication, the really honest stuff, is totally unconscious. It's involuntary. It happens outside of our control, which makes it incredibly difficult to fake. And today, we're going to learn how to read that unspoken conversation.
All right, let's start with the eyes. Why the eyes? Simple, because they are the most reliable source of information on the entire human body. Their reactions are raw, they're honest, and they are almost impossible to control. If you master nothing else, master this.
First up is blink rate. Now, this isn't just some random nervous habit. It's an incredibly powerful indicator of what's going on inside someone's head. Are they stressed? Are they super interested? Maybe they're bored. Their blink rate is telling a story that their words might be trying to hide.
And check out the sheer scale of this change. In a normal, chill conversation, we blink about 12 to 20 times a minute. But when stress or fear kicks in, that rate can absolutely skyrocket to over 70. That's not a subtle clue. That's a giant, flashing neon sign.
And you don't need a stopwatch or a lab coat to figure this out. Here's a super simple formula you can use right in the middle of a conversation. Just watch someone for 15 seconds, count their blinks, and multiply by 4. Bam! You've got their blinks per minute. You can do this without anyone even knowing.
And to make this really practical, the pros use a simple shorthand. For blink rate, just jot down BR. This lets you track these changes in real time, creating a log of reactions so you can see what topics are causing the spikes.
Now for something even more subtle, but just as powerful, pupil dilation. Assuming the light in the room is stable, any change in pupil size is a direct response to what's happening psychologically. Our pupils literally get bigger for things we like or fear, and they get smaller for things we dislike. It is a pure, gut-level reaction you just can't fake.
Okay, there's this popular myth that you can catch a liar just by watching which way their eyes move. That's not really reliable. But what is reliable is something called gestural hemispheric tendency, or GHT. And this is not about lie detection. It's about figuring out how someone's brain files away their memories. Do they look left for positive things or right?
And here's where it gets tactical. Within a minute of talking to someone, you can usually figure out which side they associate with good memories. You can make a quick note, like LP for left positive. Later, when you're trying to be persuasive, you can actually gesture towards their positive side, non-verbally linking your idea with their own good feelings.
So we've focused really hard on the eyes, but the rest of the face is basically an emotional canvas. Let's zoom out and take a look.
Let's talk about lip compression. This is one of the most accurate tells you will ever learn. When you see someone squeeze their lips together tightly right after you say something, it is a huge sign that they are holding back a negative thought or a disagreement. They are literally, physically stopping the words from coming out.
But here's the key. Spotting the behavior isn't enough. You have to know what caused it. A simple note like LC, police officers, connects the reaction to the trigger. Now you know exactly what topic caused that disagreement, and you know what objection you need to handle.
So what about spotting a fake smile or a forced look of surprise? It's actually pretty easy. There are 2 simple rules. Genuine emotions are almost always symmetrical. They use both sides of the face, and they fade away slowly. A fake expression, it's often lopsided, and it stops suddenly, like flipping a switch.
Okay, here's a situation you've probably been in. You're in a meeting with a few people. How in the world do you spot who's really in charge? Who has the final say, regardless of their title?
The answer is something called the confirmation glance. Before or after people speak, they will instinctively, briefly look at the person whose opinion they value the most. They're looking for approval. That tiny glance tells you who the real decision maker is, and that's the person you need to convince.
So we've looked at blinks, pupils, lip compression, a lot of individual tells. But the master skill, the one that ties all this together, is learning to establish a baseline of normal behavior, and then spotting when it changes.
A huge part of that baseline is finding someone's eye home. This is just the default place a person's eyes go when they're thinking or remembering something simple. Think of it like their normal, comfortable go-to spot.
Everyone's is a little different, and finding it is crucial.
Let's look at a real-world example from a courtroom. Here, an attorney is asking a juror some easy, non-threatening questions. Notice how, when she thinks, her eyes consistently dart over to the 9 o'clock position. That's it. The attorney just found her eye home. That is her baseline.
But now watch what happens. The attorney asks a much more difficult personal question, and boom, her eyes totally deviate from that baseline. They shoot over to the 3 o'clock position and then down. This is a massive red flag that something has just changed inside her head.
And this is the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. It wasn't where she looked that mattered. The real information was the change. The deviation from her normal behavior is what signals that something is going on. Discomfort, deception, you name it. Spotting that change is absolutely everything.
So, how do you put all this together into a toolkit you can actually use? Well, understanding these behaviors gives you a serious advantage in any conversation because you're literally operating with more information than anyone else at the table.
I mean, think about it. If you're in sales, you can see that lip compression and handle an objection before it's even spoken. If you're in a negotiation, you can spot a deviation from baseline and know when you've hit a nerve. These tools let you see the hidden data in a room and act on it.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. This is not about becoming a human lie detector or manipulating people. It's about deeply understanding the unspoken conversation that is always happening right in front of you. So in your next conversation, ask yourself, are you just going to be listening with your ears, or are you going to start seeing with your eyes?